Once again, I want to welcome you to another episode of What They Do. What They Do. What They Do. What They Do.
Curry chicken.
What they do.
You heard that?
You know what they do. What they do is a place where we say what they do. It's a slang in Miami meaning what's up, what's popping, what's going on. And so we say to you what they do. Today's another week with another guest. A wicked DJ, you know. Big in Miami, big across the world. DJ J Rocca. What they do?
What they do, bro?
What they do?
Yo, what's good, my brother?
I'm good, homie. How you doing?
I'm good, bro. You know, had to travel to behind God's back to come check my brother, but you know, it's all good in the hood.
Yeah, that's what people say, that they have to travel and they get to see the sticks and the cornfields and all of that. But, you know, I think if anything that has some value is worth doing.
Definitely.
You dig?
Definitely.
So, yeah, man, I just want to appreciate you coming and taking that long drive.
Yeah, I left my lunchbox home. Though,
Don't worry, I have food for you. I got drinks, whatever you want. You know what I'm saying? So, J Rocca, what you want to talk about, man?
Man, I don't know. There's so much to talk about.
Yeah?
Trying to narrow it down, man. I'll just throw something out there. Let's see what's good.
Who taught you how to be a DJ?
Taught. It's a good question.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say taught. I would say influence in a sense.
Okay.
You know, because, you know, music was instilled in me from such an early age. You know, my mom, my dad, like Sunday morning, you know, you had Isley Brothers, the Whispers, you know, you had all the good cleanup music. You know,
You one of those classic babies.
Oh, yeah, classic. My mom still got crates in the house full of music. You know, my dad was a DJ, you know, stuff like that. So, you know, music was in me from such an early age that growing up, you know, I never went without it. You know, music was my mood setter. Music was that thing that got me through tough times and gave me my happy times and stuff like that. So, you know, coming down the line, you know, growing up, you know, I played in a jazz band. I used to play the drums and stuff like that. When I was in school, you know, I sang in the school choir, you know, stuff like that. So, you know, music theory, all of that.
You could sing. I ain't know that.
Back in the day.
Got
Back
vocals.
in the day. Back in the now, nah. But you know, then it just so happened. I think I was living in DC around this time.
Okay.
And I had ran into some of my older school friends. I used to go to boarding school. You know, mom's got me out the city. You know, sent me away to school, get a better education, stuff like that. So, you know, I was into party promotion in DC stuff. I used to live right up the block from Howard.
Okay.
So, you know, we were party promoters, you know, getting the club free, drink, all of that good stuff. And my homeboy Dane, brought over a pair of CDJs by the house, you know, and my house, I was like right up the block from the White House. So I was like right up the block from Howard and everything. And that was the chill spot. That was the pregame spot in a sense. So all my homeboys used to come by the crib and pregame stuff. So one day he brought over a pair of like CDJs and stuff. And he left them at my house because, you know, that's where we got it in to start.
Didn't make no sense having to lug them around.
Right. So, you know, back then, you know, we was burning CDs off of LimeWire, you know, getting all the music and stuff like that. So, you know, we had music on the CDs. So it was by the crib. So one day I just started messing around with them, you know, and figuring out how to match the songs and the beat match and all of that and stuff like that. Then I, you know, kind of got more into the party scene, but the Caribbean side of it.
Okay.
You know, And then I started working with my homeboy Beji, man. Rest in peace. He kind of gave me the direction.
Okay.
Of, this is how you.
And you say you dove into the Caribbean environment, but your background is what?
Caribbean, Trinidadian.
Trinidadian, okay.
Yeah, my grandmother's Trinidadian.
Okay.
And not to say that I wasn't in the Caribbean background, because I grew up in Brooklyn.
Okay.
Trinidadian, Haitian, Jamaican, everything. I mean, it was the melting pot. You know what I'm saying? So
of course.
everybody's
Flatbush, Foster and Farragut.
Yes. Flatbush and
Avenue
Nostrum.
H.
Big up my Nostrum crew. So yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, before I got into DJing, I was heavy into the parties.
Okay.
We was out every day.
Outside.
Every day. We
Yeah.
was in somebody fet.
Yeah.
Hawks Band Camp.
Man, Hawks International.
Hawks International.
Yeah.
We was everywhere. There's so many places. I can't even Tilden Hall, all those places.
The Arc.
Soak Arena, the Arc, Empire Skating Ring, even hanging out down there. We was outside in Brooklyn, but, I have Caribbean friends and I had American friends.
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I was into the hip hop and R&B scene,
Yeah.
the poetry and all
Yeah.
of that in DC and all of that.
Spoken word.
Spoken word. Culture.
Yeah, culture. Mad.
Culture.
I like that. Yeah.
So going into that, and being in DC, it took me a while to get back to that side of my roots and all of that. So, once I started hanging out, going crossroads in DC, places like that, started running back into what I really love to do. Then my homeboy Beji, man, took me under his wing.
Okay.
From then, I met Super Slice, all those DJs out there in the DMV, stuff like that. So, it was on the poppin'.
Yeah.
Something I love to do. So, you're around it all the time.
Yeah.
You improve your craft, but it came natural.
Okay.
It came natural because of my music background.
So you went from an avid music listener to a curator of the music, right? From DC to New York, or from New York to DC, and then Orlando. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. So Orlando, that scene, was it similar to DC? Because I imagine the DC, although DC is small, but the cultural environment is huge. Is that accurate? You got a little bit of everything, no?
In Orlando?
No,
in DC. Yeah, DC, you had a lot. Because from then, that's when I started out in Freeze International then.
Okay.
From Benjamin, I met Freeze.
Okay. Big up Freeze. That's my dog.
Yeah. And then we hit it off and became pretty much family, as my dog, we ran together. And then he was in Orlando at that time and making this transition to New York. And then I was making my transition to Orlando.
Okay.
So it was kind of weird in a sense because we were trying to build a brand from two different cities, states, whatever you want to call it. So it's not like where you see a sound and everybody's in the same place, So we had like two separate entities of Freeze International.
Okay.
But again, it was still the same family.
Yeah.
Then we kind of went our separate ways, where I was still in Orlando and he was in New York. And it was weird in a way because when we went our separate ways, he took off and I took off.
Okay.
In a sense. And not to say it was anything holding anybody back, but, sometimes just things happen that way in life, And I had to build myself in Orlando kind of off of that of him leaving.
Okay.
And me being there, you know. So
yeah.
everybody knew Sean, everybody knew Freeze.
Yeah.
You know, so they're like, who's this guy? He's international, blah, 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 blah.
That not Freeze.
That is not Freeze.
Yeah.
You know, definitely not. I'm handsome, slim guy. And, you know, nah. You know, but again, that's kind of how it went.
Okay.
You know, so DC's more of a black culture. You know, Afro-Caribbean, Afrocentric. Orlando's more the Indian side of what it goes. You got your Indian, Trinidad Indian,
Okay.
Guyanese, you know, stuff like that. Whereas we, the Afro Trinidadians and, you know, Grenadians and Bajan and all of them kind of fit in there somewhere.
Okay.
But it wasn't.
But it's predominantly.
Yeah, predominantly.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, you know, but I made my way, you know, and I still have a lot of good friends, DJ friends in Orlando.
I'm sorry to cut you, but you made that distinction between the Afro-Caribbean diaspora in New York, in Orlando, and the Indian, West Indian, or East Indian, West Indian in Orlando. So you made this distinction, right? And I feel like you made a significant distinction where like this crowd is that. Does that mean something in a bigger picture, or are you just saying like it's just that's what it is?
It depends on how you interpret it.
Okay.
Or how you take it.
Okay.
You know, it's unfortunate as you see with just what happened in the elections in Trinidad now. And the racism, and I'm not by no means saying that there was a racist element.
Okay.
In Orlando, because I never saw it.
Okay.
Or it was never brought to me to my face.
Presented to you.
But you notice it. You know.
Wow.
As far as from the DJ world or the DJ side of it.
Okay.
You know. And I'm cool with all of them.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying any of them ever treat me bad to say you this or you that.
Yeah.
You know, never. It was never that.
But maybe you recognize some bias, is what you're saying.
You want me to say it. I'm not.
No. I don't want you to say that. I'm just trying to get clarity. So, no, forgive me.
I wouldn't say a bias.
Okay.
But you pretty much, you'll see an all-Indian cast before you see an all-Negro cast.
Oh,
in
okay.
that sense.
Wow.
You know? And, again, that's that demographic. That's what's there. You know? And, again, they always show me love. You know, I go back and I reach out. Yo, I'm in town. Whatever.
Love.
So said, so done. It's love. You know. But if you wanted to sit on a mountain and look down, you would probably see that.
Okay, you could recognize it.
You could recognize it.
Yeah.
You
So
know?
do you think that was then and now it's a little bit different, or is it about the same in Orlando?
It's about the same.
Okay.
You know, I mean, you have your DJs out there still making it. You know, big up Code Red. You know, big up Smalley. You know, Vibes Massive. You know, when I got to Orlando, that's, I think, when I started to flourish as a DJ.
Okay.
You know, I linked up with Smalley, you know, but I had Code Red there. You know, I had a lot of DJs there that were instrumental in helping me get on, you know, in a sense, or get
Big
in.
up to my family, Code Red.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? My blood cousin.
Yeah, that's Code, that's my dog.
Yeah.
Family, Michelle's family, you know, Smalley.
Yeah, big up Smalley.
Yo, if it wasn't for Smalley, I probably wouldn't be where I am now.
Wow.
You know,
That's a big statement.
it's a big statement for a short person that he is. With the
Hello?
biggest,
Hello?
with the biggest mouth
Yeah.
you could ever have, but that man commands attention. And you know him, Chemist, big up Chemist. You know those fellas, you know, really kind of helped me find my footing in Orlando. It was, you know, you move into somewhere different as a DJ. It's really, really, really hard.
Yeah.
Unless you know people.
Yeah.
you know, that will vouch for you and put you out there. You know, big up Rennie.
Big up Rennie, yeah.
All of them, you know, them fellas showed me love coming in. You know,
is the DJ fraternity a real thing in a sense of, and I mean holistically speaking, from a big picture thing, right? Is it? Do you and other DJs see each other as brothers? As this is our thing, or is there a fight? And I mean, on a big picture, the individual fight, we can probably agree to that, but from a big picture standpoint,
as far as see that within that, there's a lot of caveats.
Okay,
you understand what I'm saying? Because you have a whole, and then you have cliques. You understand? I honestly think there is a DJ fraternity, or you know, like they had the whole soca mafia. Is there a DJ mafia?
Well, some would argue that the soca fraternity is a bunch of DJs, the soca mafia is a bunch of DJs. But I guess I'm really asking about the camaraderie around the DJs and the family aspect of it. Does that exist?
Okay, so yes, there's a camaraderie between DJs, but there is also a fight down between DJs. I think in any family, you're gonna have both dynamics. You know, whereas you have some families that all the brothers and sisters get along tight. And then you have those families that nobody get along. You know, so if you want to kind of combine them, you're going to have both in there. You'll have that energy, you'll have that fight down, but you'll also have that DJ that, yo, I need a song.
Yeah, that's my man. He got me.
I know who to call.
Yeah.
Yo, I lost my whole library. I got you, bro. Yo, I need a song. Nah, I ain't sending you that. Or, yo, I might need a crate of songs. Or I might need all your 2024 soca. Nah, I ain't sending you that.
That happens.
Oh yeah. I've
thought
heard of DJs say, I'm not giving DJs a crate of music because I don't want them to sound like me. Which
It's wild.
I thought was dumb.
Yeah.
Because nobody could sound like you. You're your own individual DJ. So unless they really sat there and analyzed everything you did, from how you mix music or whatever, that sounded stupid to me. You know, me, and you could ask anybody. You call me up for some music, I got you, bro. I've given DJs my hard drives. I've given DJs starting out everything I have. Here, take the music. It's music. It's universal. It's a universal language. Music is a universal language. You're going to play it different than I am.
Right.
Yeah, I get the idea that you take all this time to research.
Yeah.
And
Put together
and find this song and do that. It's a lot of work to be a DJ. A lot of people think that this is some fly-by-night type thing. You give somebody some music and they automatically a DJ.
Well, let's talk about that, because I feel like in 2025, and I don't want to date myself too much, and I don't want to speak matter of fact, but I do feel as though men picking up a laptop and they get access to a hard drive of records and they're a DJ. Is that an accurate assessment? What school of DJing did you come from? Did you come from carrying crates and records? I mean, you said you got your CDJs, but because I think that there's a schooling difference here, and that we or people my age might see as DJ, DJ. Yeah, I don't know. Right? Tell me if I'm off key here.
You're right
Okay.
and you're wrong.
Okay.
You're right in the sense that in the eyes of an untrained eye, if somebody shows up and plugs up a laptop and pushes play, they're considered a DJ. Follow me. But you're wrong in the sense that to who it matters to, the DJs that have been here, have been doing this for years. Because I've been doing this over 15, almost 20 years.
Okay.
I put in work. You know, I'm not in anybody's household name in a sense, but I put in my work, you know, and I think I've built up a pretty good resume for a DJ in a sense. So to me, it's something earned. I don't throw DJ around lightly. It's not something that, you know, I would say, oh yeah, he's up there pushing play and trying to mix two songs together, he's a DJ. I look at it a little bit deeper. You know, what have you done to earn that title? You know, from the technical term, if you go in Webster's Dictionary and you type in DJ, it's going to tell you, or look up a picture of a DJ. It's somebody who probably pull out a laptop with music on it. Correct? You could be a DJ. She could be a DJ. She could be a DJ in that sense. But I take it a little deeper because it's something you earn.
Yeah.
You have to put in that work to be a DJ because being a DJ is a lot more than just pushing buttons. Being a DJ is almost a life. You know, we've been out here, you know, carrying crates, setting up sound systems, getting music, curating playlists, you know, weddings, anniversaries, birthday parties, whatever. We've been out here grinding. I work a 9 to 5. I work a 9 to 5. And I still, when I get home from work my second job, which is being a DJ.
But I think that's what I was trying to say, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I don't see where I'm wrong. I'm saying that this is what I observe, but I think that there's more to being a DJ than pressing play. I think is what I was getting to,
Okay.
at least trying to get to, right? At least in my time, and having
Definitely.
a laptop. I don't know, I don't want to be mean to people who that might apply to.
Well, it's
However, I just see DJing as something special.
It is something special, and unfortunately, with anything that we do, it gets improved on. So with technology's made it a lot easier to be called a DJ. You know, because now all you need is a laptop. Before, you had to save up your money to buy a pair of turntables.
Okay.
You had to save up your money to go downtown Brooklyn to buy
Some records.
some records. And you were literally digging in the crates. Now, all you got to do is scroll up and down, load up a song.
All right, J Rocca, look. Okay. I feel like, I keep saying I feel like, I got to try to find another word. All right, it seems as though, right, that when men used to have to go to a record shop and buy a record, right, it seems as though they were more willing to play the record because they bought it, as opposed to getting it in the
email
or in the atmosphere, or however, in the cloud or whatever. Right? Do you think that that's part of some of this problem of music not lasting and music not being played? Is music not being played an issue?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, look at it. Like, you went down and you spent your hard-earned money on 5 new albums or 5 new records. And you're like, I'm going to bust this record. You took more pride in it. Now, again, technology is different. Back then, music was not put out like that. Now, just as a DJ, an artist could go sit behind a mic, put a little auto-tune on his voice, sit behind a beat, and say a bunch of crap and call it a song.
Damn.
Understand what I'm saying?
I don't like it.
So, whereas the music side of it is oversaturated with nonsense,
Wow.
the DJ side of it is also over. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I have brought this up a number of times in many conversations, not just on the podcast, but to my DJ friend, etc. And it's always been a finger pointing at the DJ, right? And never any pointing back at me, the artist, to say that in defense of the DJ saying, yeah, but some of these musics is shit too. You know, and that you just hit me with that. Yeah, and I respect that.
It's all right. Prime example. I'm gonna give you a prime example. Trinidad Carnival 2025. All the music that came out, there was over 2,000 songs. Let's just say it's about 2,000, a little bit over 2,000 songs that came out. Okay, so let's just say I got 2,000 songs in my email for the season. And I have to go through those songs to figure out what's good and what's not good. Okay? It's almost like going to American Idol. Right? And you got 300 people lined up trying to show you their talent. Right? And you got to sit and listen to the good, the bad, and the ugly. I could sit here and say, yo, that's a good artist. Or I like that song. This DJ could be like, nah, that's Tutu. This DJ is on all the radio stations. Me, I'm playing in my bedroom. Who you think is going to have that song play?
Yeah, the radio DJ.
Or not play. Put it like that.
Yeah, right. The radio DJ.
The radio DJ.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Dance DJ.
So my perception of good music may be different from a next DJ's perception of good music. Or they might just say, well, Marshall dropped 5 tunes. Sizwe dropped 3 tunes.
But it's Marshall.
But it's Marshall. And it sucks because I get the same fight down as a DJ. You understand what I'm saying? So me being the seasoned veteran or the good DJ that is going to give you a good, solid showing when I go out, but this DJ friend with the promoter, who you think going to get booked?
Circular. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
I hear you.
So we could sit up here and argue till we blue in the face. I don't think we'll ever get an answer
Okay.
to that. Because with me, who rocks with Sizwe, and I'm pushing Sizwe music all day, another DJ is going to be like, but he ain't Marshall. he ain't bungee. I just put out a Trinidad Carnival soca mix, 4 hours of songs that I thought were good in my eyes, my research. I went to Trinidad. We went to Trinidad Carnival, and I literally probably heard 20 songs off that mix.
Yeah, but that's wild. Is the artist selecting dead? Being a selector and selecting the music, right? We talked about DJs and what a DJ is or versus what a DJ might not be, what maybe our preferences are. But the art of selecting, because you said you went to Trinidad, you put out a 2-hour compilation, 4-hour compilation, right? You went to Trinidad, you heard maybe 20 songs from that compilation, at least from the products, from the music that's out there, right? Is DJ selecting and knowing what to play for what crowd, when to play it? Is that dead?
Yeah.
Wow. That was a definite.
Yeah. And I say that because, let's just say, for example, I came up in the time of playing your position as a DJ. Let me elaborate on that a little bit. So, let's say you have 4 DJs on a party, right? You have your opening DJ, your middle DJs, which will probably, all right, so let's say your party start at 10, right? You have your early warm DJ come in about 11, play from 11 to 12, right? Your crowd, you know, we don't show up till 1 o'clock in the morning. You know, you have your early people that'll come in, want to hear some good. So that DJ's probably not going to play a lot of the new music, but there's so much music to play.
Yeah.
But that DJ will probably warm up your crowd. Then you have your next DJ that is probably going to come in 12 to 1, right? That DJ should pick up from that early warm DJ. You're not going to be playing too much new music, you know, because ain't nobody really there.
It ain't the time.
Ain't the time to really whatever. So that 12 to 1 DJ is still going to play some good music though, because there's people there, you know, may not be at full capacity, which the party scene to me sucks. You know, nobody comes out to party. Everybody comes out to take pictures and look good, socialize, whatever, this and that. Back in the days, we used to fet.
Yeah.
We used to come out and party.
Yeah.
And not just fet, but any party.
Yeah.
People were there to spend their money, have a good time.
To sweat, boy.
To sweat. So 12 to 1, that DJ is starting to get bubble at that pot, you know, in a sense. 1 o'clock, 12:30, 1 o'clock, people start to come inside, you know. So that 1 o'clock to that probably from 12:30 to 1 o'clock, you want to start to pick it up just a little bit. And then from 1 to 2, that DJ come in, and now you want people to start moving. You know, so you can get in a little bit of new music if you want. But again, there's so much music to play. I find that DJs come in with the mind frame that they're going to play this. I'm playing this no matter what.
Yeah.
So
the crate is already set.
I know I'm coming in. I'm playing this song, and I'm playing this song, and I'm playing this song. What sometimes happens is, like, and I know I've played that 1 to 2, 2 to 3 slot. I love to play that because I like, you know, like Back to Basics. He's the party rocker. You know what I'm saying?
Shout out to Back to Basics, and
Yes.
we want to wish you a speedy recovery,
Yes.
my brother.
Yes, my brother. I think between 1 to 3 is the good time. That's the meat of your party. you want to get people in a fevered pitch.
Prime
time. But you want to. It should be a team sport, because that your closer, your 3 to 4, you should easily just lay it up for him to dunk it and finish off the party. I find 2 to 3, that DJ done closed the party already. And now your 3 to 4 DJ is probably standing there like, damn, dog, you ain't leave me nothing. You lose the crowd, whatever it is. Now you got to go back to say, all right, I'm going to reset this party. You know what I'm saying? And I just find that art of knowing what to play, when to play, and how to play it is lost. Because I've left songs on the table. I'm not playing this. I'm leaving that for my closing DJ. And the closing DJ played the same set I played.
Tripping.
And it's happened more times than not. And I'm like, well, damn, I should have just played those songs. You know? So, me, when I go to a party, I try to be as prepared as possible. I try to have everything where it needs to be, so that when I get there an hour early and I listen to the previous DJ set, I say, all right, he played so. I'm thinking, all right, what can I play now?
Are you making it a point to get there an hour early?
Yes.
Most times?
Most times. Sometimes you can't help it, because if you have a previous booking, you know what I'm saying? And I just finished playing another party, I'm rushing to get to the next party. If I could catch 20 minutes. But even if that's not the case, I'm still going to walk up to the next DJ and I'm going to go, yo, what did you play? And I love when a DJ comes up to me and say, yo, let me see your history. What did you play? Now, if you looked at my history, asked me what did I play, and then still go play those songs,
Use a cross.
To me, I think that shows that you haven't prepared enough to be as versatile. I'm a lover of music, and I don't like to be pigeonholed and put in a box. Yeah, I get booked for a lot of soca gigs, but I love a good R&B party. I love a good multi-genre party where I can play compa, I can play soca, I can play R&B, I can play Afro beats, you know, things like that. Some DJs aren't that well versed.
I want to ask you about clearing the dance floor, right? And do you think some of the problem is there are too many DJs booked on a dance, and they're also scared to clear the dance floor, so they're playing what they know gonna raise a hand.
They're playing safe. Well, yeah, because you're only as good as your last booking. Just like as an artist, you're only as good as your last.
So is that a promoter problem, or is that like whose issue is this? Is too many DJs, or is it?
Of course, it's the promoter's problem. Because the promoter picks the DJs, hands down. I don't see no difference in it. I mean, when I do an event, I'm personally picking DJs that I know will take my party from this height to that height, you know, and you're going to put them where you see fit. So if I know this DJ is strong in older music or old, and I don't mean like older like our parents' music, but just like
got a catalog and knows how to play
catalog or whatever, and can start my party good, I'm going to put him there. If I know I have a strong closer, and most of the time your strong closer is probably going to be that DJ that you probably flew in, or probably has a big following because they've proved themselves. Again, it's all relative on opinion. You know, I could probably sit and look at the cast and be like, I wouldn't have booked him. Or I would have put him second and put him third. You know, again, at the end of the day, the promoter pays the DJs. So the promoter's gonna pick who he wants on the cast.
I think that's true. But what I guess what I'm saying is, because I'm trying to make a correlation between too many DJs on a cast and a DJ feeling like I only got 20 minutes to shell, right, for this $200 or whatever their fee is. And if I don't flatten the dance in my set, I ain't coming back next week.
Right. But why would you give a DJ only 20 minutes to show?
Well, I put 10 DJs on the cast, or 6 or 5.
That's too many.
Yeah.
That's way too many. Unless you have a 10-hour party. Most parties are 4 hours. Why do you need 10 DJs for 4 hours? That doesn't make sense. Half of them DJs aren't even getting paid. So
how does a DJ not getting paid impact you? Or, is that too much?
No.
That go too far?
We
have enough time for all of that.
Yeah. I mean, how does it impact me?
Yeah.
I mean, a promoter's gonna look and say, I don't have to pay him. I have to pay him. Most of the time, first of all, it's usually a fight down on your price most of the time anyway. You know, they're not going to pay you what you think you're worth. You know, so if I'm getting paid $300 and you have Joe Schmo, the DJ over here, who comes in and says, yo, just give me a couple drinks, I want to play.
That happens, bro.
If you could think about it,
it happens.
It happens. And it's anywhere. People will undercut you. He gets 300, I'll take 250. It happens in the club scene. It happens in the private scene. You know, I mean, I do a lot of private events, you know, weddings and stuff like that. You kind of have to almost be competitive in a sense. So it's unfortunate in that sense. Whereas if I'm starting out and my price for a wedding is $1,500, that DJ's probably charging $1,000. They'll probably go with him, but they're not going to get the experience that I bring. And I'm going to say this, 9 times out of 10, I do get a phone call saying, damn, I should have went with you. I'm not going to tell you I told you so, but I told you so.
Yeah.
You know, I know what I bring to the table. You know, that's why I charge what I charge. But people are only going to want to pay you what they think you're worth. You know, so it's a lot of politics in this business. Not politics, but politics. And it's unfortunate.
J Rocca, I don't want to swim past this, right? Because we touched on kind of your history a little bit. We stopped in Orlando, but then you got to Miami, right? And we kind of missed that, you know? And I think that you came here and it's a bigger market, might have been a little bit more difficult, but you found the lane. You also throw your own parties. You've been able to play out in the big dance and establish that. So what was that experience? So DC area, Orlando, then and the Orlando demographic, and we talked about that, and now Miami.
Miami was a little different. Fort Lauderdale, Miami, whatever. I had to find, and anywhere new, you got to find your footing. I knew people down here as well. So again, it goes back to that DJ fraternity, you know, of whatever. I've met a lot of people in this business. So the first person that booked me when I moved out here was Survivor. When he was doing the Soca Thursdays at Ginger Bay.
Okay.
You know, I moved down here with a promise that things would be better from some people I won't mention. But it turned out to not be that.
Okay.
So I was kind of left out there. But again, when I was in Orlando, I hooked up with Team Soca. You know, big up DJ Spice, family. You know, so I kind of had that under my belt, you know, as a Team Soca DJ, that kind of got me into circles that I probably wouldn't be if I was just bare out the ass coming in down here. So, you know, I built a nice camaraderie with a lot of people in the business. And then, you know, you had to get out there. You had to show support in a sense, you know, go to parties, show your face, kind of get out there, you know, but rest on what you built, you know, mixes. I was still on the radio with Team Soca, so I was able to use that as like a calling card in a sense, you know, and then you start to meet other people, you start to see other things.
Like on your resume.
Yeah. So yeah, you have to have a DJ resume. You have to. That is very much important to build your resume to be seen and heard as a DJ. And I can't tell you how much my mixes have helped me out in a sense, because you have a calling card. Because now you can say, take it here, listen to my mix and this and that. And that person listens to the mix and share with this person, and this person share with that person.
Oh, that's the guy who did that mix.
Oh, I know you. I can't tell you how many people I don't know that have come up to me and be like, yo, I heard your mix. Mix was nice. You know, things like that. So yeah. So I played a lot of parties. I've been on a lot of events, private weddings, all of that. And, you know, I think I built a nice little DJ resume.
Rocca, as a DJ, who's your favorite DJ? Is that too broad?
Very.
Okay. As a DJ, who's your favorite soca DJ?
Me.
That's what's up. Heard that.
I mean, who I could if you asked me that question, and the only person that came up was me, and it's not a conceited thing. Oh, I'm the best DJ. I know what I can do as a DJ. But do I have DJs that I would go and listen to? Sure. But my wife would tell you most of the time, it's hard for me to go out. It's hard for me to go out and listen to other DJs just because I know I want to be there. You know, I should be up there or whatever.
No, I definitely get that.
You know, but no disrespect to no other DJs because everybody's out here hustling, doing their thing. There's a lot of DJs I do rate. But if I go and sit in my car and put on a mix, it's going to be mine.
Sure. So, but beyond you, right? Let's say the number 2 guy. If you can't be there, right? If it ain't you, and I respect the me answer, right? Because I think that you have to hold yourself to a certain accord, right? And respect and value what it is that you bring to the table. Because if you don't do that, nobody's going to do it for you. So I respect that answer, right? But for the podcast, right? If there's a DJ that, man, you coming out your bed to come and see, pause, but who you coming out your house to come and see, right? Who is that going to be?
Basics.
Back to basics.
Back to basics.
Mad.
Back to basics. I grew up in Brooklyn. I don't want to say, if you was to ask me an influence, it would be him. Because I've watched and heard him literally take you on a musical journey with music.
Yeah.
That take you to places that you were like, damn. Like you leave there exhilarated.
Yeah.
You leave that party like, yo.
You experience something.
I haven't heard this song in a long time.
Word.
Like I know I could go to a party and I know I'm gonna hear these songs. With him, you don't know what is gonna happen. And to me, you know, I'm praying for that brother. You know,
I've experienced Back to Basics in a soca party, not hear one soca record from him for his whole set, and it be lit, boy. Like it be like like you had a time. So that's what's up, man.
Yeah, if we had to go there, that back to basics.
All right. Outside of soca, does anybody else come to mind?
Puffy.
Puffy.
I've heard Puffy kill anything he touched, no matter where he's at. If he's in Guadeloupe, if he's in Amsterdam, that he does his homework and he executes. Skill, delivery, excitement. Yeah,
That's what's up.
Hands down.
That's what's up. Listen, J Rocca, you know we've been on for about over an hour. You know
We could be here all night.
Yeah,
trust me.
it's so much to
It's
cover.
so much.
It's so much to cover. You know, but I think that you brought up so many good, valid perspectives, you know, about this thing that we call DJing and what it is to be a DJ, you know, the highs and the lows, you know what I'm saying? And it's the same in as a soca artist,
Definitely.
you know, and the fight or the lack thereof support or, you know, trying to establish yourself, you know. So I just want to give you a round of applause. I've known you for a long time, and I also want to tell you that I appreciate you for always supporting me. You know, when I got a record and finding a way to squeeze it in your set or in your mix. Right?
Every song you put out, I put on my mix.
Yeah, I really appreciate it.
You know, and even back to Mr. Saturday and
Yeah.
J Rocca, you're big, you know.
Yeah.
That you know how many people come up to me and say, J Rocca, you're big, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I appreciate you because you're part of my fraternity.
Man, I appreciate that.
You know, it's always love. You've pulled me to the side. We've had deep discussions about stuff. You know, you've helped me out with putting things into perspective and things like that. And, you know, we may not speak every day. We may not hang out all the time. But it's always love every time I see you. So I
Yeah, man,
appreciate you,
definitely. So, J Rocca, I just want to say thank you again for traveling all the hours where you drive to come to what they do, and you know, I understand, but you know, I couldn't have the show and not have you on, right? Because I think that you are a pillar in the community in Miami and Fort Lauderdale area. Sometimes maybe not given your due. And I want to be able to give you some of that today, right? So I appreciate you, homie. You know, and this is what they do, and it's another episode. Listen, hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps out what we got going on here. Shout out to J Rocca. You're big and huge. What they do.